Drug addiction is, it's cunning, baffling, and it kills people. It kills people, it ruins families, it ruins relationships. That's why, like, I'm so open with my story, and every milestone I share about it. If I have a chance, I'll talk about it, because, like, drug addiction ruins lives. I don't want to let down my family. I don't want to let down my family. I don't want to let down people that, like, look up to me. If I were to relapse, I'm dead. I know that for a fact.
Hello friends, Fitz Nation is on your screen once again. Thanks as always for tuning in and checking out the show. My conversation today is with the MMA journalist Alex Behunin. Now I'll get to the heavy stuff in just a moment, but Alex is known for his series called Humanizing Athletes. He asks fighters a lot of simple questions, but they are interesting things to find out about. What's your favorite show? What's your favorite drink? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite movie, video game, things like that. And it's such easily digestible content that he originally started as a series to write things about, but he said, let me just throw up the questions and answers on Twitter. And I think a lot of fight fans have enjoyed finding out more about their favorite fighters. So we talk a little bit about that, but the big story with Alex is that he has beaten drug addiction. He is in recovery 12 years. We talk all about it, about how he got hooked on pills, about the things that he did. He was very candid and open because he says his purpose is to help other people get clean if he can be an open book with his story. So I always love seeing Alex at weigh-ins at the UFC Apex. He is a staple on Fridays and certainly on Saturdays for fight nights. And he's just an all-around good guy. And when you figure out the backstory and the adversity that he's battled in his life, you can see why he's grateful for every day. So enjoy this conversation with Alex Behunin. And I hope if anybody out there is battling any demons or any adversity, you can draw some inspiration from his story.
I'm in. Keep laughing. Hold on. Hold this there. I'm in the media room with Alex Behunin from MMA Mania.
Perfect.
Okay. When you have good conversations with people, you get on my show. I always have good conversations with Alex, and he's a great audience. Look at him laugh. I barely even have to say anything. The guy laughs at all my jokes.
I mean, you make me laugh, dude. It's fantastic.
It's awesome. You make a lot of fighters laugh.
I try.
Yeah,
I try. I mean, it's not like I go in like I'm gonna make this guy laugh. I just I try and make it personable,
Right.
And I try not to make it, because I feel like fighters are like already kind of like have their walls up. Mm-hmm. They're like, this dude's trying to get me. They're trying to get a quote from me or like whatever, and I just want to be like, I just want to make it personable and have fun.
Yeah. You do a great job, and you came out with that series, Humanizing Athletes, was it called?
Yeah.
And like you just said, athletes will have their walls up, and it makes sense because they get clickbaited and they get headlined. You don't really do that.
No.
Why not?
So I came up in traditional journalism, right? Journalism college, and so working in a newsroom, like I know all about that. I know all about the clickbait, and being around fighters so often, I can tell that they don't like it. They don't like being clickbaited because then they don't trust you, right? So with the Humanizing Athletes, I really started. I just asked a couple of fighters their favorite movies, because that's what I want to know what your favorite movie is. I'm a movie guy, like movies and MMA.
Yep.
That's me. So like, I asked.
So it started as, what's your favorite movie?
1000%.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, well, why don't I figure out what their favorite song is, their favorite artist, who they like to watch. So it kind of just evolved from that way. But it started with, what's your favorite movie?
Yeah. It's a very simple but effective form of journalism, and it's like proof that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, really. And like, so how has that helped you kind of ingratiate yourself toward all these fighters?
Well, first and foremost, getting into the industry and coming out of college and everything, like, I was actually told by Helwani, like, you have to be different. And so I was like, all right, like, what should I do? What should I do? And that's what I came up with. But how it helps me is, like, fighters don't want to talk about fighting all the time. You know that talking to them, everybody knows that, like, it's on their mind 24/7. And so if they get to talk about what they're watching, who they like fighting, what they like to eat, I feel like it's different. It's different content.
Yeah, it pulls them into a different direction.
Yeah.
Allows them to be who they are.
Right.
As fight.
1,000%.
Right. So can you give me a bullet point list? And we're going to get into who Alex is and your journey to where you've gotten. But what I thought of this morning is, can you give me a bullet point list of like maybe the top 5 most surprising things, or top 3 to put you on the spot? And I can start you with one,
okay,
just to like jog your memory. But when you did one with Michael Johnson, and it was like favorite band, Dave Matthews Band, and I was like, what? Michael Johnson from St. Louis, Dave Matthews Band. Yes, I can see it. He's a big DMB guy. He's a white guy who lives in Spokane. Michael Johnson from St. Louis, Dave Matthews Band. That surprised me. And proof about how effective that series is like, I feel like I definitely have something in common with Michael Johnson. I could probably talk to him about some concerts that we went to or whatever. What are some other ones where you're just like, wait a second, excuse me, did you say this?
1,000%. Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
My buddy Sean Strickland, his favorite video game was StarCraft.
Okay.
I was just like, what?
Why? You didn't expect that?
No, 1,000%. Plus, like, he made fun of me for having a video game controller on my arm. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And so I was just like, well, I figured maybe Call of Duty, or maybe like old school.
A shooting game.
1,000%. So
right.
I was like, StarCraft, like that nerdy, like really?
Yeah,
so that one kind of blew my mind. A lot of like the Russian fighters, all of them like CSGO, Counter-Strike, which kind of makes sense, but kind of like it just doesn't really like, I don't know. That's like last thing I would think about Russians playing for some reason.
Yeah.
Umar Nurmagomedov, his favorite movie is The Gentleman.
Okay.
Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
So so like those are just off the top of my head, but I know there's time. I could literally go through all of them. And be
right.
Like,
and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
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 And you did it with me once. It's very simple. You kind of lean over. You don't send them a list and then ask them to fill it out and send it back. You just kind of talk to them.
It's however I can get them to do it. Sometimes a simple DM like, hey, are you interested in doing this? Answer these at your leisure. I like to do it in person just because it's more. Anything in person is much more personable, right? So and you get the better answers and stuff. But yeah, it's however I can do it. If it's through a DM, through an email, through a manager that a manager translates for me, like whatever.
Where are you from, Alex?
I am from Oxnard, California.
Okay, California. Yeah. And then you mentioned journalism school. You went to college for journalism?
Yes, I did. It was a long. It was start here, do all this, and then end here.
Okay.
It was a very long. It was like a.
It wasn't a postcard 4 years, is what you're saying.
It was like a 20-year journey.
Wow.
Of like rehabs and all sorts of shit. But my degree is in journalism. From Cal State Northridge.
How would you describe how you grew up?
I had a great childhood. Which is weird because I'm a recovering drug addict. And a lot of drug addicts come from broken homes. Come from broken homes, come from shitty parents. I had a great childhood. I have the best parents on planet Earth. It's just I went a different way.
Yeah.
And I found drugs, and I love drugs more than anything.
How did you find drugs?
Oh man.
I mean, if you want to get into it, right?
Dude, it's
and let me just preface this by saying, I read recently, we're all trying to add bullets to our resume. But really what unites us all is our weaknesses. And that's partly why I wanted to talk to you, is because I think that there's strength in sharing our weaknesses, because that's really what unites us more so than trying to climb to the top of our mountain and trying to, get ahead of the rat race. So I appreciate you sharing anything that you want to share. But, like, how did it come about?
I'm an open book, and if I can help somebody dealing with addiction, like that's my purpose. After I got clean, I have to give it back so that I can help somebody. I can help the next Alex get clean.
Yeah.
So how it all started, funny enough, I was playing football, and one practice I got cracked. I got cracked by my teammate. I went back and cracked my head in my helmet. They sent me home, and my dad had a prescription for Vicodin for whatever reason, and so he gave me one of these, and I was like, damn, like at first, like I got cracked, and it was a bad hit, but like it wasn't that bad. So like I was using it. It's part of my story is I would use fake injuries to get drugs, right? Mm-hmm. So I got my first Vicodin, and ever since that day, it's been trying to chase that first time I got high off of Vicodin, and that went all through high school. So I would steal my dad's Vicodin, and that's how I started in high school. It was all Vicodin, and then a lot of my football friends were like, why are you doing that? Just smoke weed, right? So it was like Vicodin and smoking weed. Mm-hmm. When I got out of high school, like that's when I got really bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
How do you describe the chasing of the Vicodin feeling? Because that's what drug addicts will say. You hit it once, you can never get that first one back, and it's always about chasing it. Have you been able to like put into words what that feeling is and why you chased it so hard?
No, I mean, it's just like sports gambling is the same way, right? So yeah. I lived in California, and so sports gambling was illegal. When I moved out to Vegas, I did my first parlay. I won like $200. I've been trying to win $200 ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. It's just like you get that gratifying feeling, and you're chasing it. You're chasing it, and it doesn't come, or it does, right? Like drugs, yes. Opiates, you can. It's a little bit different from like smoking crack the first time, right? Mm-hmm. Like my wife is in recovery too. She has 22 years clean. She was a crackhead, and so smoking crack that first time, you'll never get that same high again. Opiates, there's so many different strengths of opiates, right? There's Vicodin, then there's Norcos, then there's Oxycontin, now there's fentanyl. So there's like different, I don't know, like
different levels, different cocktails.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost, right?
Right. So like you can, I did find that first time I got high in Vicodin, like I found that high again. But then it gets to the point where like my I can't get it anymore because I've taken too much, and yeah, so that's
yeah. How long have you been clean?
12 years.
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
You,
that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Like, how did you figure out it's time to stop?
It didn't come easy.
Yeah.
It did not come easy. I'll give you. It's kind of a wild story, but in 2012, I had been forging checks of my parents. So I've been forging checks and stealing money. And so when my dad went and did the taxes for that year, he printed out all the checks. And so he found out that I was forging. So of course he came up and confronted me about it. So at the time I was like, all right, this is like the height of my addiction. I'm such a manipulator, such a liar, such a thief, everything. So like, how am I going to get out of this one? Like, how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to say, I'm going to kill myself, so that they be like, oh no, it's okay. So I did that, and it backfired. So
well, you did what? You said you were going to kill yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to kill myself. And so
you told them that to their face.
To their face, and it's not the first time they had heard that. It was like that's what I would use.
That was a tactic.
1,000%. It's a tactic throughout my whole entire life. And my mom is so codependent on me. It worked for a long time. Well, this last time it did not work. And so I went to bed that day thinking, I'm fine. Like I got out of this one. The next day, my mom, my Nana came into town. They took me to this facility where I thought, I was just going to go and talk to somebody, be like, oh yeah, I didn't mean it. I'm just going to get out of here. No, they locked me up, 5150'd me. So I was locked in the facility. Little did I know it was a facility for 5150, but it was also a detox. Mm-hmm. So I was detoxing off the drugs. To that point, I didn't think I was a drug addict because I never shot heroin and I never smoked meth. Right?
You were always pills.
Pills or alcohol or cocaine. I never shot anything.
Never
at that
into
point.
the arm, right?
Yeah. And I always thought if you smoked meth or you shot heroin, you're a filthy drug addict. I was
But you justified your behavior.
1,000%.
How many pills a day was your height?
Oh, dude.
40, 50?
I was taking like 50 Norcos and then like 15 Xanax. And it didn't even really affect me at the time. Like,
Yeah.
I was to the point where I was like I was pawning my shit. So I got a prescription for Norcos and Xanax because I would lie to doctors. This was also how I originally got my prescription. I was on steroids, and I hurt my back, so that's how I got a prescription for the Norcos. And then Xanax, you can get a Xanax, but just say whatever.
That's
right?
pretty easy to get. Yeah.
So I mean, towards the end, dude, I was eating these pills, and I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know who was looking out for me, but like I should have a horrible liver. Like the amount of pills I was taking, I should have liver failure or whatever. But I just don't. I never. It was one thing I escaped. So getting back to it, I got into this facility. I detoxed. My parents would come. I was yelling at them, get the fuck out of here. I don't want blah, 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 blah. Horrible. I was just a horrible person. So I thought I was going to get out of there in 3 days, right? So they came 3 days. I was like, all right, like, let's go. I got in the car. They took me to another place. This was a rehab.
Live-in rehab, yeah.
Rehab. So they tricked me into going over there. They're like, all right, you're going to stay here for 2 weeks, then you can come home. I was there for, actually, it was probably a month. It was probably a month. When I was there, I still didn't believe I was a drug addict. I was like, why am I here? Like, why am I here with these people that are obviously drug addicts? 3 weeks into that rehab, I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and I heard some people share, and I was like, that's when it hit me.
At a meeting.
That's at
your first meeting.
My first meeting. My first meeting.
What did somebody say that you remember that made you think differently?
That they took pills. That they took pills, and so I related, and I had gone to AA meetings before, prior to the AA meeting, but I just didn't relate to these people. Like, it was just really weird. NA and Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous are completely different people. It's just they're the same, but they're so different.
Yeah.
Just because of the people that go to these meetings. But yeah, this meeting, he was just so honest. He came from a good family. It was a speaker meeting, so he was sharing about pills, his family, everything, and I was like, it just hit me it just fucking hit me. Boom. Like, oh, okay. Now I get it. I get it. So I go back, and I'm like pretty invested. But when it was time that my insurance ran out, and I was gonna, the rehab stay was over, I thought, all right, like, I'm cured. I'm gonna go. My parents didn't come. It was my aunt this time who came pick me up, and she took me to a sober living, and tricked me again and going, like, she's all right, we're going home. So we left this rehab. We were going on the freeway back to home, but she took us left, and she's like, I just gotta go get some gas and whatever. So I was like, I was so jovial, and
you were out.
Yeah,
right?
I'm going home. And so she basically took me to this place, kind of checked me in. I walked in. I was gonna fight people. I was just like not in a good space, and she just left and just like left me there. And I thought I was gonna like, all right, well, I'm either gonna walk home or I'm gonna call my friends. Call all my friends. No one picked up. And I learned later that it was like my mom had called everybody and was like, if Alex calls you, don't pick up. You know what's going on. And so I was like, I'm looking back at it, I was so mad. I was so mad that day, but looking back at it, I'm like, thank God no one picked up.
Yeah.
Thank God no one came and got me, because
you weren't done yet.
No, 1,000%. I even though I thought I was, I figured like I finally had like a seed planted. If I would have gone home that day, I'd be dead. I'd be dead, 1,000%. And so went to the sober living, stayed there for another 3 months, and that's while I was there, I went to NA meetings and really got connected and been clean ever since. But I got to tell you, that first rehab I went to, there was 9 guys in that rehab. They're all dead. They're all dead. One's doing life in jail, life in prison.
The first rehab you went to for the 1 month,
They're
9 guys in there.
All dead.
Everybody's dead except one.
And he's doing life in prison.
How does that make you feel?
I got lucky. And drug addiction is, it's cunning, baffling, and it kills people. It kills people. It ruins families. It ruins relationships. It's the worst, man. Like, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. I've seen being clean 12 years and going to meetings nowadays, like seeing these people roll in, just beat to shit, just having nothing to their name, no one, like just having no one. It's so awful. It's so awful. And people that have been around drug addiction, like they know, and that's why, like, I'm so open with my story, and every milestone I share about it. If I have a chance, I'll talk about it, because like drug addiction ruins lives. Mm-hmm. I fucked my family for so long. My mom went to bed for 5 years. She went to bed knowing that she was gonna walk up to my room at some point and I was gonna be dead. Like, that's not how a mom should live. Is going to bed knowing that her son, that she's gonna walk upstairs and her son is gonna be dead, like overdosed. It's just not a life, not a life for my dad that raised me to be a good person of society, and I was out there just havoc. I was,
Yeah. I think it really surprises people to hear a story like yours, and then to bring it back to a UFC reference, Jared Gordon, where it's like, Jared Gordon was not a street tough kid from a bad family. He was from a well-to-do family in New York, and he fell into the wrong thing. And I think there's plenty of people out there, like, I don't know anybody, or I didn't know anybody that directly happened to that. It didn't happen to my friends. So when you see it in a movie, it seems like it should be fake, but it's not. And then when you meet people like you and Jared and other people, and you guys are the good ones because you've gotten out of it. And it's not easy to do that.
No, dude, over my 12 years, I've met so many people. I've gone to so many funerals. Like, my first sponsor told me, he said, you're gonna have to get 2 sets of suits, one for weddings and one for funerals, and you're gonna wear it to funerals way more than weddings. And I have, man. I've been to so many funerals for so many friends that had more clean time than me, came in after me, came in before me. I had a couple friends that had like decades clean, 20 years cleans, and they went out because they had a surgery and got hooked on pain meds because they got clean before pills became this whole number one drug, basically.
Sure.
Right? And so they take that one time, and it's
just from healing from a surgery,
dude, or
from a medical thing,
taking their wisdom teeth out. They take that pill, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And they're gone. It's truly heartbreaking, man. It is.
What's a factor for you that keeps you clean, knowing how difficult it is, and knowing that you know people that had longer time, and it can change just like that?
I have 2 things. One, I don't want to let down my family. I don't want to let down my family. I don't want to let down people that like look up to me. 2 is if I were to relapse, I'm dead. I know that for a fact, because the way I never shot heroin, but now I know that heroin's cheaper than pills, and the way that I took pills would coincide of like how I would shoot heroin, and I would overdie. And there's fentanyl nowadays. Like, I know if I relapse, I'm dead. Mm-hmm. So I'm scared to death to relapse. Like, I don't. That's why, like, going out with my fellow media people, or like going out to bars and drinking, like, it's fun. It's fun. I don't like alcohol. Doesn't trigger me. I don't like. It's always funny when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna drink. Like, do you care? Like, or I'm gonna go smoke weed." I'm like, no. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't. I'm not going to relapse over some alcohol. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm not going to throw away 12 years over a fucking beer. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
but when I do go out with like, and I see people like, you know, having fun, like for a minute there, I'm like, I think I could go out and like have a beer with the buds after fights, but I just know myself, like, as soon as I drink that beer, I'm going to be looking for drugs. Like, it's just,
You think it'll soften you up just enough?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I was never an alcoholic. I was a drug addict, right? So, like, yeah, liquor will keep me okay for a little bit, right? But like, as soon as I'll be looking.
Won't
for
be
drugs.
enough.
No, 1,000%.
Yeah.
No.
Like, now I don't drink, and I don't have the story that you do, but I agree with you on the thing. Sometimes I just go, what's the harm if I had a beer? And it's not the harm in that, and for me it's not as disastrous as it could be for you, but like I just go, but I don't need it. Like I think something I heard about addiction, I might be misquoting it, but it's something like addiction is the narrowing of things that give you joy, and beating addiction is the widening of things that give you joy. And so I guess I'll ask you this with when people ask me about my lack of drinking, because I kind of just all of a sudden quit. I was just like, let me just try to go for a month without drinking. And at the end of the month, I was like, okay, this works. So it's like, but people would say, you're really disciplined, because believe me, I like to have a good time before. And even like when I was with the UFC, like we're on the road and it's like you're in an airport lounge and stuff, I would be getting a cocktail or 2 or 3, right, depending on what day of the week it is. After the show in Brazil, we're not flying out until 11 o'clock the next night. Like we're up till 5 in the morning. I'm hanging with Damian Maya in a Brazilian hotel lobby. We're having like 10 beers, you know. Right. But people would say, you're really disciplined. And I would think about it, and I would just kind of be like, it would be discipline if I really wanted to drink. Mm-hmm. But it's not discipline because I don't really want to drink. For you, what is your level of discipline to stay clean? How much is it about willpower and discipline for you?
That's tough. I mean, I don't know. It's become such a way of life, right? Like I mean, it'd be different if like, you know, alcohol and weed, it's just like a society thing.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. If like we were going to a restaurant and people were just like taking pills or snorting pills every day, then I might be like, I
was going to ask you, like, it's easy for you to say no to a beer when you're out at a bar. If somebody's got pills and they say you want some, is that tough for you?
I've only been in like situations maybe like once or twice.
Yeah. And
I had people with me. Who knows?
So you've done a good job staying away from even having it be a temptation.
Yeah, like that in itself, I kind of like I have to like remove myself because like who knows?
Right.
I could tell you right now, like I'm strong enough, I have enough willpower that I could say, no, I'm good, dude. I'm good. Mm-hmm. But who? It could be a. You
don't know. You've seen people on more solid ground lose it.
Oh, 1,000%. I could be like one of these days I'm just like having a shit day, whatever happens, and be like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah. And then just, you know, I don't. That's the thing is I don't want to try. Like I don't want to like test it. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's the. I think that's kind of where the willpower comes in. Is like I don't want to test it and try it because I know where it leads me. Yeah. I know where it leads me. But yeah, just like the willpower is just like just staying clean, continuing to go to meetings, continuing to help people that need help. You know, like that's kind of like my mission in a sense.
Yeah, and in terms of MMA, something that I've found with this sport, no matter how white collar or blue collar you are, there's a spot for you in it. How did you find your way to MMA with the background of addiction and battling and coming out on the other side? Yeah. And why are you laughing?
Because, dude, MMA is just fucking wild, dude.
Yeah.
It's just, I just saw a report out there that MMA is a top 4 sport nowadays. Like, it's if you're in it, like it is such a fucking crazy wild sport that like we all love, that we probably shouldn't love, because it's crazy, dude. Like two dudes or two women fighting in their underwear in a steel cage in front of thousands of people. Make that make sense.
Right.
You know,
But it's where you found kind of a life.
1000%. I think it's, you know, you're not normal if you're going to be a cage fighter. You're not normal. And I'm not normal. I'm not a normal person because of my background. I mean, I grew up normal, but like drug addiction and how I took my life, like I don't see myself as normal. It's like, so, and I'm not saying that, like, I'm not trying to relate myself to fighters. Like, fighters they're not fucking, you don't grow up wanting to be a cage fighter.
Right.
You know, maybe nowadays because
it's different now.
The
right?
sport's been around,
yeah.
right? But like a lot of these fighters, it's just not something. So how I got to MMA is I'm a tough baby. So Ultimate Fighter Season 1.
I've never heard of that. A tough baby.
Yeah. I'm a tough baby.
Ultimate Fighter Season 1, you said.
Season 1.
This is my new thing.
I'm in. And ever since then, I've been a hardcore fan, watched religiously. Even, dude, that when I got locked up for my 5150 in rehab, it was Demetrius Johnson versus Ian McCall that Saturday. And I was trying to convince, like, the people there, like, dude, I have 5 fights to watch. Like, I have to watch this fight. And they're like, do you really? I'm like, dude, I really do. Like, well, you can catch it afterwards because you're not going home. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, so like even in my like darkest spot, like it's something. So yeah, it's my hardcore fandom. And then, you know, you asked about college lately. Like I originally graduated college in 2012 with an AA in psychology. But I couldn't go to a university because I couldn't pass a math class. Mm-hmm. And I tried every which way to pass this math class. Even so in 2012, I had gotten clean, went back to college, got my degree, but I couldn't go to a university. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go work. So I was working at this thrift shop. You know, it was just a job. It was a job. I was pretty content because I was doing toys, movies. I was, you know, doing
Yeah.
But it came to the point where I had asked for like a $1 raise. No, it was a 50-cent raise, and they fucking let me go because of it.
This said no thanks.
And so at that point, I had to like reevaluate, like, what am I going to do with my life? And so I was like, you know, I've always wanted to like get that degree in college. I've always been a good writer. Like, why don't I do go do writing, do journalism? And that's kind of where my path went. And I eventually, but I had to pass this math class. Mm-hmm. And dude, I tried every which way to pass this math class. Tried cheating, tried tutoring, tried the 18-week, tried the summer class, failed all of them. Just failed all of them. Finally, like, I asked for help. I had to go up to a counselor and be like, how can I pass this class when I can't do it? And they're like, well, why don't you take an artsy math?
Yeah, math theory. I was good at math theory. Not so good at calculus.
So basically like an artsy algebra. Basically, I ended up passing that, got a B in it, and then did my way. But it was through that. It was getting fired, always being a good writer, finding journalism, and then when I was in college for getting my degree, I kind of wanted to do entertainment and movies, but I quickly found out that those people are even weirder than fighters.
People that write about entertainment and movies?
No, actors and
actors.
actresses.
Oh, actors. Oh, the subjects of yeah.
They don't live on the same planet as you and I.
Yeah.
They're in their own.
Right.
So I was like, well, fuck it, dude. Like, I've watched this sport since 2005. I'm a hardcore fan. I'm very knowledgeable. Why don't I like do that? So I started writing for my college newspaper. And then I got on with a couple outlets, and boom, like it's been smooth sailing.
What do you think is your career? We'll kind of wrap this up, but like, what do you think is, when you picture your career in the next 2 to 4 or 5 years, whatever, the classic question of what do you hope to accomplish? And like, what do you hope your career looks like in the next kind of chapter?
It's tough, right? Like everybody, all my friends like that don't know journalism, like don't even like don't you want to be on like be with ESPN? And I'm like, first of all, like I'm not a broadcaster. Like I have a stutter, So like I'm never gonna be a broadcaster. I don't like I like talking, but I don't like talking that much. Plus, like you put a camera on my face, like I get nervous, like I stutter. So like so throw that out the way. I mean, what I'm doing right now, I'm very good at social media, and I'm a writer, and those are like two things in this industry that are like nowadays, like you have to be good at social media, and writing's not going away, right? Like everything, obviously, like everything's going towards video and stuff, and like if I have to be on video, I will, like, or like do interviews. But like if you notice, like a lot of my interviews, I'm behind the camera.
Sure.
I like the old style of interviewing where it's like I stick a camera in your face, like the old shirt.
I talk to you, and then I write about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my thing. So like, you know, if I'm very content with MMA Mania, and you know, obviously more money wherever you go would be nice. But like, if I can write about the sport that I love, I'm super content. What I just want to do more is just write more stories. Like one of my best stories I wrote last year is about Curtis Blades and his stutter, and it was a very personal story to me, and like I think as of today it's my best thing I've ever done. So like more stories like that I like to do, even though in this MMA atmosphere people don't like writing, people don't like reading those things. Like they don't like big features, you know.
I do. There are a few of us, but I do understand. That's why your bullet point one is so effective, and it's the sad lack of attention span world that we live in. But telling stories, there's always going to be a place for that too.
Well, funny enough, when I started my humanizing athletes, I would write I would
write a story based on it, right?
Right, 1,000%, and they were on my website. I would write up who the fighter is, what their accomplishments, and then I would write the thing, and you'd have to click to it to go to it. No one was checking it out, so I was like, well, how am I guess I'll just put all the answers on social media, and there it went.
There it is.
And once it did, it blew up, and it's been so. As you said, yes, there are people that want to read it, but it's becoming less and less.
Sure.
In this atmosphere, people want the quick biteable, like eatable, biteable content.
Yep.
That's like they want to automatically inject it. Boom. You know.
Well, you have done a great job running your own race, Alex.
I appreciate
I think that's something that we can all strive for, is to do what we want to do, despite the changing world that's around us. And sometimes we have to adapt, and you found a way to adapt. But by and large, you don't try to clickbait. You don't try to be something that you're not. You don't try to get ahead of other people. You just kind of do what makes you happy. You always seem to be very grateful. So I like you for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like be humble and just be grateful, because like it's just this thing that this MMA ecosystem, like it's such a niche thing that can be taken away at any time. I feel like it can be like, or my position can be taken away anytime. You can get your credentials pulled. I can get fired from my outlet, and
then you got to find something else to do.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. So like, I just want to be grateful. I want to be humble. I want to be like, I'm not better than anybody, dude. I'm just a fucking recovering drug addict that likes to be on social media, have jokes, laugh, watch some movies,
talk fights,
and go along my very well way.
Alex Behunin.
Behunin.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm surprised to know that it's an Irish name. Thank you, brother. This was a great time.
My pleasure, dude.